Good evening and welcome to the February 9th, 2026 City Council regular meeting. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mayor James Mayhew, Deputy City Clerk. Please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Murphy. Here. Councilmember Watson.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Washington.
Here.
Councilmember Cotton. Councilmember Christensen.
Here.
Member Johnson.
Here.
Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Watton, will you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember
Johnson.
Yes, Johnson, and seconded by Councilmember Christensen.
Mayor.
All right, any discussion?
Question, were we gonna potentially amend the agenda tonight for an executive session?
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Councilmember Johnson.
I would say so moved, but apparently there's some work I need tonight. Okay, first thing is, I think this is the right time to do this, is motion to change the date on the minutes to January 26th instead of the 21st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Amendment passes. Councilmember Johnson.
Second is motion to add at the end of the meeting, one executive session under RCW 42.30.110I, potential litigation, and RCW 42.30.110B to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration would cause a likelihood of increased price.
Second.
And there's more.
Is there more?
Yeah. And a closed session under RCW 42.30.1404B, the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiations or proceedings while in progress, with no planned action to follow.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Christensen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Any further discussion? See none. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The amended agenda is passed. We'll start tonight with proclamations, but before we do, I want to quickly introduce to the council and to the public Rebecca Solom, who's here, who is now filling in for us, helping with, as a temporary executive assistant, helping with public records requests, other duties in support of the deputy city clerk, the mayor, and the city administrator. So it's a name you'll be seeing a lot of, I think, in the coming days, and basically helping fill in while we conduct our city clerk search process. Welcome. And you don't have to stay all evening. You're welcome to leave because we have our deputy assistant clerk taking care of things for tonight.
Fantastic.
All right, moving on. First tonight is Proclamation 2602, Twin Peaks Day. Whereas the television show Twin Peaks, created by Mark Frost and David Lynch, debuted in 1990 and changed television forever by breaking new ground and inspiring numerous other television shows. And whereas Twin Peaks returned again to television again in 2017, challenging viewers anew and garnering awards and critical acclaim. And whereas Twin Peaks captivated television viewers around the world with scenes filmed in Snoqualmie and the Snoqualmie Valley that emphasized the natural beauty and history of our region. And whereas Twin Peaks has drawn tourists year-round to Snoqualmie, the Snoqualmie Valley, and the greater Seattle area for more than 35 years. And whereas Twin Peaks has placed many Snoqualmie and Snoqualmie Valley locations, landmarks, and businesses into popular culture, including Snoqualmie Falls, Mount Si, Alali State Park, the Salish Lodge and Spa, the Snoqualmie Lumber Mill, and Dirtfish Rally School, the Centennial Log, Reinig Road, Tweed's Cafe, Roadhouse Restaurant and Inn, Smoky Joe's Bar and Grill, Mount Si High School, the Reinig Bridge, Meadowbrook Bridge, and the Northwest Railway Museum Snoqualmie Depot. And whereas February 24th is celebrated by Twin Peaks fans worldwide as the day when the character of FBI Special Agent Dale Cooper arrived in the town of Twin Peaks, now therefore, I, James Mayhew, Mayor of the City of Snoqualmie, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, February 24th, 2026, to be Twin Peaks Day in the City of Snoqualmie and invite people everywhere to celebrate by giving yourself a present of donuts, cherry pie, and fine coffee, and planning to come visit our beautiful Snoqualmie Valley soon. I think we have some guests here to receive this.
Yeah.
We're helping out so they can make their picture. I hope so.
Okay, great. This is in case we want to say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are we doing? All right, you got a good plan? All right. Great.
Yeah, they are actually from Mars. Oh, you're good.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You guys can take that.
Great, excellent. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Now we're gonna do a little fun thing with the council now, so you guys can stay more.
Well, great.
Yes, that's that.
Come on up. Yeah, exactly.
The right way, huh?
You gotta make sure the logo's facing the right way. And then you wanna tip the pie, but not too far, not too far.
Make sure that.
There you go.
Maybe I should test them.
By the way, the pie is fresh from where it should be
Let's
from.
get a couple more of you over here. Let's balance out the photo. Yeah.
So you can't block this.
I'm not.
All right, you good? Pie. Yeah. We have to turn a little.
I need a lot.
Oh, okay, that's good. And put your mug with your left hand. That's on there. Why the little, I don't know. Same, and then eyes in the right.
But I always drink with my right hand.
I'm
Nobody
really
should
sure.
have believed
But-
we're all gonna hide them.
That's-
God. Gotta be flexible, Rob. Gotta know how to.
Okay, all right.
This is where I try not to be goofy looking.
Yeah.
It's like natural.
So you guys- Yeah, I think 1, 3. Oh, I guess I find that, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think I have enough to make up. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
So, and you can take a fork and a napkin and then, so are we gonna There you go. Are we gonna reset the room or do you want to leave this here?
Let's do this second one and then, okay, never mind.
Do you need help?
Go ahead.
First take.
Oh, we can, oh.
Oh,
Okay.
so are you gonna take another picture? Okay, that looks like that. So we gotta go back to the wall.
Oh, yeah. I remembered why I had the mic. I was going to tell everyone that it was a damn fine cup of coffee and a slice of cherry pie.
There you go.
Next is Proclamation 26-03. Whereas Black History Month is an annual observance recognizing the perseverance, resilience, community, pride, confidence, and enterprise of Black Americans. And whereas understanding and honoring Black history enriches our shared civic life and benefits current and future generations. And whereas in 1926, Black author, editor, and historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson established a week-long observance to encourage the study and teaching of African American history, and whereas Dr. Woodson, widely regarded as the father of Black history, dedicated his life to preserving and elevating the often overlooked or suppressed contributions of African Americans and their enduring importance to the progress of humanity. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 100th anniversary of this historic observance, which later expanded into Black History Month, therefore, I, James Mayhew, Mayor of the City of Snoqualmie, Washington, do hereby proclaim February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Snoqualmie and encourage all residents to join in learning, reflecting, and celebrating throughout this special observance. Well, do you need a photo of that, or we'll do that later? Okay. Okay, at this time, we'll provide time for public comment on items not on the agenda. Comments on agenda items will be taken during discussions of each item. Public comments are taken in person or in writing that may be submitted in person, mail, or email to cityclerk@snoqualmiewa.gov. Are there any individuals wishing to make public comment tonight on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains approval of the city council meeting minutes dated January 26th, 2026, and approval of the claims report dated February 9th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember
Second.
Washington, moved by Councilmember Cotton, and seconded by Councilmember Washington.
Got it.
Got that? Okay. Is there any discussion? Sorry, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? See none, is there any discussion? See none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Consent agenda is passed. So as we go into committee reports, I'll let all of the council members know, in case you're not already aware, that most committee time this cycle was spent on planning and background topics. So not a lot of items came forward to the council for this cycle, but if any of the chairs wish to provide a brief summary of some of the discussion in their committees, obviously feel free to do so. Start with public safety. Is there any report from the Public Safety Committee?
Thank you, Mayor. We've had a discussion this last meeting about speed cameras, especially in school zones, and it's an issue that we'll continue to explore with the administration and the police department. But that was the extent of our entire committee meeting this week, and it's an important topic and one that we're sensitive to make sure that we address it fully.
All right, community development. Is there any report from the Community Development Committee?
None at this time, Mr. Mayor, other than, let's see, we have explored conversations around affordable housing. And I think the culmination there is going to be to have some experts come before the committee, and so we can kind of get more into the details of what we're looking for as a city. We've also gone over some CD personnel discussions, and we like where they are. So I think more information is going to be brought back to the committee from the administration. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Parks and Public Works. Is there any report from Parks and Public Works Committee?
Only that we have spent the first couple meetings of the year with two council members that are somewhat new. Some have been there before on the Parks and Public Works Committee, kind of updating them on our CIP programs and projects. As soon as administration returns the agenda items that were pulled from our agenda, I would certainly hope that we can utilize those, having our superintendents from the 5 divisions come in and educate us on prior projects and upcoming projects. So looking to get a date when we can pursue those things from administration and get those back on our agenda.
Under Finance and Administration Committee, we have a discussion on the Open Public Meetings Act. City Attorney Burke.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a moment while I share my screen. All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to have a discussion with you about the exciting topic of the Open Public Meetings Act. So the Open Public Meetings Act is a transparency or sunshine law. It's called a sunshine law because the idea is that it shines light on the government. There was a Supreme Court justice who said sunlight is the best disinfectant. The policy behind it is that transparency builds trust in government, and it helps the public stay informed and also participate in their government. This is a law that was passed in 1971, and the essence behind it is that meetings by elected officials should be open to the public, gavel to gavel. It applies to commissions, boards, city councils, and other agencies that are listed in the law. And the intent is for it to be liberally construed. That means that if you have baseball, the tie goes to the runner. It should always be leaned towards that it should occur open and in front of the public. There are a lot of different situations where the OPMA applies. I think for what's really important to take away from this is that obviously, as I think you all know, it applies to you as a city council body. It also applies to other bodies that exist in municipal government, especially most particularly like the Planning Commission. And it states that all meetings of the governing body of a public agency shall be open and public. Thanks to, this is a really fun definition. The definition of meeting means meetings at which the public agency takes action. And action is the transaction of official business of the public agency. And that includes public testimony, deliberations, discussions, considerations, reviews, evaluations, and final actions. And a meeting of a governing body occurs when a majority of its members, also known as a quorum, gathers with the collective intent of transacting the governing body's business. Here we have 7 members of council, so a quorum would be 4. Physical presence is not required. Thanks to growing technology, a meeting can occur by phone, email. I think the case law is not quite there yet, but pretty soon I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing case law about various chat forums or Facebook messages or even comments on social media. It does not need to be titled a meeting. It can apply to retreats, workshops, study sessions, and no meeting occurs if the governing body lacks a quorum. The footnote to that would be serial meetings, which I'll touch on later. And an exchange of emails could constitute a meeting if, for example, a quorum of members participate in the email exchange and discuss agency business. That's kind of like the back and forth emails, but just that one-sided, simply receiving information without comment is not considered a meeting. A serial meeting occurs when a majority of members of a governing body have a series of smaller meetings that those little sub meetings may not constitute a quorum, but the end result of all the little meetings is that a majority of the body has met and collectively taken action. This is also something that as we grow in technology that's available to people with social media, Facebook, et cetera, and commenting, I think that the case law is not quite there yet, but I think it is coming with the courts looking at Facebook and Instagram and the ability to comment and message. Serial meetings can occur with or without technology. A lot of the case law that's coming out now usually involves combinations of emails or text messages, and the technology is really present in it, but it could also take place through a series of in-person meetings. And those serial meetings violate the Open Public Meetings Act because in essence, it amounts to an action being taken outside of that open public meeting. Final action is when the governing body takes a vote on something. That has to be done in public, even if there's an exception in the law that allows that deliberations to take place in a closed session. So even if there is a law that under the executive session law, council's allowed to discuss it in the executive session room, the actual vote on it still has to take place in public. So that would mean coming out of the executive session, reconvening in public and doing the procedure of moving and voting. Travel and gathering will come up with the Open Public Meetings Act. It's not forbidden under the OPMA for a quorum to travel together. I always would caution what the optics look like to members of the public because the intent is to ensure that trust and transparency in government. If members of the governing body are traveling together, discussion or consideration of official business would trigger the requirements of the OPMA. The case of Egan versus City of Seattle looked at the serial meeting issue. The plaintiff claimed that the repeal of the employee head tax resulted from a serial meeting. When the Court of Appeals looked at the facts, there were over 24 communications among council members and staff over 3 days. This included in-person meetings, emails, phone calls, text messages, and distribution of a draft press release. And the court especially looked at a staff member had put together a vote tally sheet comparing where the council members were going to be voting. The court said that this could constitute a meeting if at least 5 council members participated. City of Seattle has a 9-member city council, so quorum would be 5. And the members knew that others were participating in those discussions. The court looked at the first 2 days, there was no quorum, there was no shared awareness, so they said it was not a meeting. But the third day, the court was concerned because of the draft press release and also that staff members sheet tracking the voting. There were also 7 members had reviewed and agreed to language indicating majority support. The court held that a prior agreement on how to vote is action under the OPMA. Court of Appeals in general are not fact finders. So alas, we didn't actually get to a final determination in this case because the Court of Appeals remanded it for more facts from the trial court regarding what had occurred.
Sorry, can I ask a question on that?
Sorry, Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, so then is that something that could come back at some point after having gone back to that lower court? And this is still something that is in a proceeding of some sort, or has the case been closed, so to speak?
It could, I haven't seen it, when I was looking on Westlaw, I haven't seen it come back. So I'm guessing that the city of Seattle probably settled it, but I could double check on that for you, but it could come back.
Okay, thanks.
Right. Another part, an exception to the Open Public Meetings Act is executive and closed sessions. These are various topics that are discussed in a closed session, not open to the public, because the idea behind it is that if these topics were discussed in the open public, it would be damaging to the agency. There's strict requirements of what can be discussed in those executive and closed sessions, and also the purpose of the executive session has to be stated, and the time it will end has to be announced by the presiding officer before it begins, and it can be extended by further oral announcement. So oftentimes when a council or commissions in executive session and the time is extended, there's a person who comes out, announces, for example, 10 more minutes. That's a requirement under the law. It seems kind of goofy, but that actually has to be noted and put in the minutes, and the state auditor actually checks to make sure that we're doing that. The discussions are confidential, no voting takes place, and no final action takes place in executive and closed sessions. The most common topics for executive and closed sessions are agency enforcement actions, litigation or potential litigation, the sale or lease or purchase of real estate, or issues involving collective bargaining. So I'm here to help answer questions to make sure that we're, being a fully transparent agency and also protecting the city's interests. I also wanted to mention that for meetings, if you want to make a motion on anything as the city attorney, I'm here to help you draft that motion. So please get in touch with me ahead of time. I'm also not required to report that to the mayor if you're putting in a request with help to draft a motion. So I want to make sure you know that too. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Cotton.
So just to make sure I understand, is that for some of the electronic exchanges, it's to be considered a serial or rolling meeting, the majority of the body has to be involved in the exchange, and the participants must collectively intend to meet to conduct agency business, right?
Yes. I would caution against any kind of combination of a council body meeting that could result in that serial meeting, because one of the things is because the act is liberally construed and has the intent of transparency, I always urge caution, but you did state it correctly.
good because this is coming from the practice tips of some of our advisors. And so I just want to make sure that we're all thinking the same thing. So, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
City Attorney, did you touch on where the liability lies when when there's deemed a violation?
Yes, so OPMA violations are not covered by our insurance, WCIA insurance. So if the person brings an action against the city and prevails, the fees would not be covered, the defense would not be covered by WCIA insurance. And if that person prevails, the city could be liable for their attorney's fees, and it can also cover the officials who are involved in that violation could have a penalty for the first violation is $500 and the second violation is $1,000. And that's a personal liability.
Any questions, any other discussion? Councilmember Johnson.
And then who can bring a case? Is it a resident, citizen group, resident group, et cetera? Or does the state have anyone who goes around looking for violations, or all the above?
All of the above. I don't know if the state has like employees that are looking for it, but it could be, there's no requirement that they even live in the city, live in the state. It could be anyone who, and it could also be a concerned citizen group.
Thank you.
And you, City Attorney, did you touch on, with regard to email, one of the things that sometimes occurs is blind copying people to where council members may not be aware of who else has been involved in a discussion. Did you touch on that at all?
I didn't touch on that. A lot of times as staff, we do a blind carbon copy, and that's to prevent that inadvertent reply all. Because maybe, for example, the interim clerk sends something like the agenda, and maybe you're meaning to only email him directly and you accidentally hit reply all. I would also caution against the BCC amongst yourselves, because if you don't know who else is on it, you may not know who else is being communicated with. So that could result in a serial meeting where you don't know what's happening.
Councilmember Johnson.
And then one other thing that stuck out to me was in the Egan versus City of Seattle, the issue of members knowing that others were participating in discussions about the repeal. So if you had someone, a council member who had talked to two others, that's three, but they didn't know that another person, one of those had talked to the other. I suppose the person who was in the middle, they wouldn't necessarily know that the first had talked to someone else. So I could see how there could be a loop where council members weren't aware that they had crossed that fourth threshold. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the attorney in me wants to just say, just be careful when you're playing with fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Murphy.
So if a council member wished to disseminate information to the rest of the council, what would a best practice for doing so be, so we don't run afoul of these laws for informational purposes?
I think it depends on the information. One option, depending on what the information is, could be reaching out to the mayor to see if it could be something that maybe staff should be sending out, because we have the ability to do that. But I think it would be kind of depending on the situation.
Okay. If I could just comment, the intention, certainly my intention, and the intention that I've asked all of the staff to have here at the city is to facilitate the council in doing your work. If you ask city attorney to disseminate some information to the rest of the council, she will do that. If you ask me to do that, I will do that. We will not censor that data. We will not get in the way of it. We will facilitate it in a way that makes sure that you don't run afoul of OPMA requirements, but that you accomplish what you're trying to do. So we're here to to facilitate that, and please take advantage of that. We are not here and will not attempt to interfere or censor anything that you're trying to do. We're here to facilitate it. Councilmember Cotton.
Yes, I just wanted to respond to Councilmember Murphy on the same practice tips from MRSC. It does say that in the situation you described, if you're providing information or documents via email to a majority of the members, especially regarding a matter that may come before the body for a vote, have the first line of the email clearly state, as you stated, for informational purposes only, do not reply, and then consider also using the BCC email line to prevent other members from replying to all recipients. So they are actually encouraging us to do the BCC. But I like that for informational purposes only on the email tagline, subject line.
Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, I think an example, like the resident reaches out to one of us that we feel that the rest should know about, right? I think that happens fairly frequently. Wanting to make sure that, we're not just privy to that the rest of the council is. So I guess in that instance, perhaps having the mayor or the city attorney be the intermediary might be the best course of action there.
Yes, and also if you do have residents that are reaching out with questions or concerns, what I've done in the past is if I followed up with that person, I send out an informational email on the BCC to the entire council to let them know, I've followed up with this member of the community and informed them of this.
Councilmember Johnson.
I'd assume that also it could be concerning to have a council member ask staff to disseminate some knowledge, and then another council member asked to disseminate knowledge related to the same topic. And then basically staff is acting kind of like, I don't know, effectively like the speaker for the various members, and that could end up being construed as something of a meeting as well. If staff is just basically saying, they said this, they said this, they said this, they said this, and it's all about the same topic.
Yeah, so one thing that staff are committed to doing is first off, facilitating any information sharing that you all are wanting to do. And then to the extent that there's a perception from the city attorney that, hey, this may be dangerous, what we'll do is we'll let the person requesting know that we have a concern, but we will absolutely bring that information to your next public meeting to make sure that that information does get around, but in a manner that protects you as well as the city. Councilmember Johnson.
Then I had just one other thing, and that has to do with the social media, where before I learned about all this stuff when I joined the Planning Commission with regard to OPMA, I thought that it was frustrating sometimes that I would see people talking about things on Facebook about what was happening in the city, and then it just seemed like no one from the city council was telling us about what they're doing. And from this side of things, now it makes a whole lot of sense. This concern that if you've got council members replying saying, oh, that's why we did that tax, or that's why we did this with trash pickup, or whatever it is, that there could be kind of this essentially serial meeting happening on social media. So while sometimes I may see things online and I want to say something, I hold back because I'm just afraid of what happens if somewhere in the comments, enough of us were to also comment somewhere and it got tied together in some way.
Councilmember Christensen.
I'd also just flag, social media in general is kind of is ripe with a whole bunch of issues that you can fall into as well, including like, if we're posting on things publicly, we need to maintain those records. And for example, we may need to respond back to public records requests with them. So there was an AWC training on social media. I would recommend to my fellow council members to take a look at it. It was certainly eye-opening, and, just encourage folks to speak with the city attorney as well, because it is really ripe for some really simple errors and lasting consequences.
If I could just say, one of the things that I'm really looking forward to is trying to work with all of you as well as staff to sort of focus in when we see discussions in social media or anywhere in the community. Lots of times we'll see misinformation. And unfortunately, social media doesn't lend itself well to trying to correct that information. Now, there are strategies that work well and there are strategies that don't work well. And remember this, anytime you go on to any public forum and say, we, the council, did something for reason X, you run the risk that not all of the other six agree with that particular reason. They may have each their own reasons. So it's always dangerous to try to speak for the council when you go beyond, when you talk about why someone voted. So keep that in mind as well. But I really am looking forward. We've already got a list going of topics that we've seen so far this year in social media that we think didn't have accurate information, and we're actually putting together accurate information, putting it together in a reasonable and understandable way. And then we have a plan to go back out to the community and communicate around those topics to try and help the public be aware of what, you know, the facts are, and so that they're better informed as they have their discussions. So very much looking forward to your input and helping with any of the topics you see as well. So hopefully that's something that we can do together. Councilmember Murphy.
Yeah, I'm really glad to hear that because, you know, we have to hold back sometimes from hopping into the fray, right? I think there's no winners in that. But those are genuine discussions that are taking place amongst our residents, and I think we have to heed them. We have to kind of see what's there. It's one of many ways to find out and figure out what our residents are thinking about and talking about. Engaging with it is a completely different question, but I think being responsive to the concerns and the sentiment, I'm glad to hear that it's something that we're kind of take one data point of many, I'm sure, that we're taking in terms of seeing what the sentiment of folks is. And the second thing I want to say is, you know, we have to meet our residents where they are, right? And that's probably not always going to be on the comment section. And I don't think we really have any interest to be in the comment section. But I think, and I've heard the mayor say this as well, finding more forum for interaction and engagement with our citizens, whether that's whatever it is, I think is something I'm pleased to see kind of a renewed push for. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, seeing no further discussion, is there any further report from Finance and Administration Committee? Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, just a few things I wanted to mention. We were about to look at an ordinance. Well, this is something that we were working on back in 2025, AB 25-106, an ordinance amending and repealing Snoqualmie Municipal Code to align with financial management policies. In looking at what was there, it didn't ring a bell for how I thought that I remembered us leaving it. And it sounded like the mayor had a similar concern when we were discussing it at the meeting. So the administration is going to take that back and go back through and make sure that that the intent of the council is what comes forward. And also, since that was under a different mayor, also perhaps with new insights from the new administration. Also, we will be intending to bring back the strategic plan. We did not shelve it forever last year, but the intent of when we did press the pause button on that one was that we were going to have a new administration coming that the mayor had just been elected, new mayor. So wanted to give the mayor the chance to go through and give the mayor's input on that. There's also a consideration of making sure that the comprehensive plan, which largely looks out somewhere in like the 5 even to 10-year period, is meaningful to staff now, where otherwise it could be something that just kind of gets shoved on a shelf because what is staff supposed to do with this that we're not working on right now? So most especially, how can this relate to our budget and laying the groundwork for planning for things that are actually going to occur outside the biennium? But what do we need to do now so that we can actually do those things instead of it being it's always a 5-year out problem? And then the last thing is the council retreat planning, although not necessarily something that starts at FNA. They'll probably start it with committee of the whole. It's something that there are some logistics that are being worked out, but should be coming soon. And no further report.
All right. Any items for committee of the whole? All right. Brings us to the mayor's report. The last 2 weeks have been busy. The last 5 weeks have been busy. A few things just to highlight for you, though. First is we've started community events. We've now had, in the last 2 weeks, we've had two meetings, community events with the police department, Cops and Cones, which was focused on our younger residents, and Cops and Hops, which I think confused people perhaps as to whether the cops would be doing the hops or not. But in any event, we had two great events and had some good turnout. We've also had the first coffee with mayor. So these are some of the kinds of things that I think were mentioned just a little while ago. Looking forward now, we're also discussing our first town hall. I think I've mentioned that individually to some of you. There'll be more coming soon on that as we try to put that together. But finding different ways to connect with the community is very high on the priority list for us as electeds. So also we'll be talking to you about maybe coffee with the mayor is great. Maybe coffee with some council members would be great. So and moving those around different times, different weekdays, weekends, evenings, daytimes. We're going to try and mix that up and try to reach a whole set of different people in each of those meetings. So more on that coming, but we're already off the ground and going strong in that regard. Met over the last 2 weeks, met with Representative Schreier, the 8th Congressional District, at the 8th Congressional District Mayor's Meeting. She holds a monthly meeting with the mayors from her district. So that's a fantastic opportunity to kind of see things that are similar in concern and how those might resonate at the federal level and help we might get from Representative Schreier. If you have any thoughts in those regard, please feed that to me. Those are monthly meetings. And so I think that can really help us get federal funding and support for things that we're trying to do. I have a monthly meeting also with King County Council Member Sarah Perry, the 3rd County Council District. So she's for all of Snoqualmie is our county council member, and also this year the chair of the King County Council. So has a little more perhaps reach even than normal. But anyway, I meet with her monthly now. And so any items, again, that are on your mind, whether it be things you would like brought up in person or questions asked, please let me know. Happy to do that. And then I've had several meetings in the last 2 weeks with North Bend Mayor Mary Miller, which is a tongue twister, Mary Miller. So we're meeting regularly on topics that sort of affect the whole Upper Valley. In particular, we've been talking a lot about economic development topics. So very happy again to hear any ideas from you that you'd like me to carry and over to North Bend, to the mayor in North Bend, and talk about how we can work better together. There were multiple planning meetings around the Community Development Department staffing and work plan over the last 2 weeks. We spent a lot of time really digging in on that. That's an area that you, the council, highlighted late last year. And so we're working very hard on trying to address that. Also, we began the annual compact mitigation discussions with the Snoqualmie tribe. So that is a process we're off and running, and so far is going well. I don't know if I reported this to you before, but the first meeting that we had with them on this was, so this is the Snoqualmie Tribe Compact. It's their meeting, but they alternate locations with us. Sometimes it's here and sometimes, so here in these council chambers, and sometimes at their council chambers at the tribal office. When they came their meeting, we put up the Snoqualmie tribal flag. That's what that empty flagpole is just there. That was flying their flag when they were here for their meeting. And to my knowledge, that's the first time that's happened. So working together with the tribe, I think you, the council, took a bunch of steps late last year, which were extremely well received by them in a very emotional and deeply felt way. So I think there's a lot of good feeling right now from the tribe towards the city and how we're interacting with them. And so that happened. By the way, we also hoisted that flag on our flagpole for the duration of that meeting day. So a first ever. We've had a lot of meetings with employee groups around the city. I say we, it's me. I've been meeting with all these different employee groups because trying to let them meet their new mayor and have a Q&A and sort of get a little comfortable with what's going to be the same, what's going to be different, whatever questions are on their mind. So spending a lot of time trying to get around and really emphasizing two of the points that are most important to me, as you all know, which is collaboration, big sounding word, by which I explain to them what I mean is collaboration between the city employees and the residents. Interaction on what are our priorities, what are we working on, what are we accomplishing, how are their tax dollars being spent. So we're really trying to get everyone energized around that. And then transparency, another big word. In this case, what I mean by it is letting them know what things we're working on, what those things are likely to cost, what are the facts around those things, so that as they then enter into discussions, this kind of gets back to some of the social media discussion earlier, but as they enter into discussions, they're well educated about what we're doing, why we're doing it. So a lot of those. And then lastly, I'll just say the Southeast Area Legislative Transportation Committee meeting, CLTC, also had a meeting kind of looking forward to the next year and what we do. This is a group that's primarily focused on SR 18 and completing the SR 18 project and encouraging and hopefully ensuring that the state fully funds that to get the rest of that project finished. So a lot going on. And please let me know if there's any other things you'd like to see me or the administration focusing on, and we'll kind of work together to get that done. Next agenda item is Commission Committee Liaison Reports. Are there any reports from council liaisons? Councilmember Cotton.
Just a couple brief notes on some of the meetings. I just came from our Arts Committee meeting, and lots of enthusiasm with the new members, and definitely they were kind of planning out the year with the projects going forward. We while we got up to speed, and we also lost a member, but did have a quorum tonight, and so very exciting there. And again, lots of enthusiasm for continuing on with the projects we have going. Also, from the downtown merchants and the Ridge merchants, there's, definitely some concerns with up on the ridge. We've had a lot of some businesses, which is concerning. And then downtown is kind of getting into the shoulder season here. One exciting thing was our train has started running this past Saturday. It was the first time that we had the engine pulling some tourists through, and it was nice to hear that sound again. The kudos to our staff, committee liaison, the Snow Valley Chamber and Ridge Merchants went down to the wedding conference and did some promoting of the Snoqualmie Valley wedding guide. And and it's making quite a difference from going from just around 40 weddings that we're booking out here at the beginning, before we brought out the wedding guide, to now over 400 weddings are booking a year with about a $10 million impact. And then they also did make a comment that with the Twin Peaks influx of folks, it's going to be about a $12 million impact. So some exciting stuff happening. I'm starting the EMAC, Emergency Management Advisory Committee meetings this week on Wednesday. And the topic over the next 4 months is going to be FIFA. So, which we're not allowed to say, but it's definitely going to be, just how the jurisdictions can plan and communicate and all that. And certainly if there's any staff members that are interested in attending, we can arrange for that, or I can just bring recaps back from the meeting. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Any other reports? Councilmember Johnson.
Yeah, just wanted to let the council know, since there's some curiosity, that the next LTAC meeting has been scheduled for Tuesday, March 10th at 5 o'clock. Look forward to that.
Any other reports? If not, we'll move on to executive session. We'll now have an executive session under RCW 42.30.110I on the topic of potential litigation, and RCW 42.30.110B to consider selection of a to consider the selection of a site or the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase when public knowledge regarding such consideration will cause a likelihood of increased price, and a closed session under RCW 42.30.140 number 4B when the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, professional negotiations, or grievance or mediation proceedings, or reviewing the proposals made in the negotiations or proceedings while in progress. There is no planned action to follow. That will go into executive session.
Maybe at what time do you?
Sorry. We did just have some training on this, you all may recall. Right now it is 7:58, and we expect to be
I'd say 8:30 or 8:45.
We'll be in session until
8:30.
8:30. And as I said before, no planned action after that meeting, but we'll come back at 8:30. We would like to have City Attorney Mike Chambliss, City Administrator Mike Chambliss, City Attorney Dina Burke, HR Director Kim Johnson, and Community Development Director Mona Davis join us in the executive and closed section. Councilmember Washington, yes, we'll be going upstairs to the meeting room.